A father watches in horror as his daughter is struck by a speeding car and thrown to the ground. He rushes to her side in a panic, but rather than stopping to help, the driver circles back, accelerating straight toward them both. As a police officer, Craven instantly recognizes this as a deliberate assassination attempt. Enraged, he takes aim and kills the driver on the spot, then fires 2 more shots into the front tire, sending the car spinning out of control and plunging into a river. With the immediate danger neutralized, Craven wastes no time getting his badly injured daughter to the hospital. Fortunately, they arrive in time, and Emma's condition stabilizes. She's soon cleared to go home, but while waiting for dinner that evening, she suddenly starts bleeding from the nose without warning, followed by violent vomiting. Craven grabs his keys, preparing to rush her back to the hospital, but fate delivers a far crueler blow before he can act. He watches in horror as a bullet tears precisely through his daughter's body. Barely clinging to life, Emma seems to want to say something, but the wound proves fatal and her eyes close forever. Overcome with grief, Craven lets out an anguished, animalistic howl of loss. Their once warm home instantly transforms into a cold crime scene. His colleagues arrive quickly and, after examining the scene, conclude that Craven himself was the intended target, a veteran detective with plenty of enemies over the years, with Emma simply an innocent bystander caught in the crossfire. But Craven knows a professional assassin wouldn't make such a basic mistake. The killer's deliberate shouting was clearly a stage distraction. The truth is obvious. Emma was the actual target all along. Recalling the 2 separate assassination attempts on his daughter, along with her unexplained nosebleeds and vomiting, his instincts sharpen. Something far more sinister must be lurking behind all of this. Determined to seek justice for his daughter, he has no choice but to uncover the truth himself. He clips a lock of her hair, keeping it close as his last tangible connection to her. The next lead arrives on its own. While sorting through her belongings, he stopped cold by a chilling discovery, a loaded handgun. Emma was never the type to handle firearms. Its mere presence sends an unmistakable signal. Using his police authority, he traces the weapon's serial number to its registered owner, a young man named Bowen. Following this lead, Craven drives to Bohan's residence. The moment he approaches, Bohan, clearly already on edge, grabs a knife defensively, eyeing the door warily. Without wasting words, Craven subdues him efficiently within moments. Scattered photographs reveal Bohan was Emma's boyfriend. Even after confirming Craven's identity, Bohan's fear doesn't ease. He admits he'd given Emma the gun for protection, but refuses to elaborate further, citing some kind of corporate confidentiality agreement, repeatedly warning Craven that they're both under heavy surveillance and that he needs to leave immediately or risk his life. Finally, Bohan hands over the keys to Emma's rented apartment along with a bag of her personal belongings. Weighed down by mounting suspicion, Craven arrives at Emma's apartment. His years of investigative experience immediately reveal signs of a thorough search. Pry marks on the window, her computer missing entirely. Inside her backpack, he finds several mud-stained articles of clothing, a spare magazine, and a professional-grade radiation detector. He initially dismisses it, until the device sweeps past his own chest pocket, and a piercing alarm suddenly erupts. Craven freezes. Slowly, he pulls out the item in his pocket, the very lock of his daughter's hair he'd been carrying as a keepsake. It's registering dangerously high radiation levels. The alarm shatters the fog clouding his mind, and every fragmented piece suddenly clicks into place. Emma's nosebleeds and vomiting after returning home weren't symptoms of an ordinary illness. They were signs of acute radiation sickness. His heart plummets, replaced instantly by an uncontrollable rage, as he realizes the situation is even more catastrophic than he'd imagined. Yet the mastermind behind all this consistently seems one step ahead. Just then, his colleague calls with news. The man responsible for Emma's murder has apparently been caught. Except he's already dead, hands bound behind his back, his head brutally beaten. Even stranger, this victim's physical description doesn't match the original crime scene evidence at all. Taking no more chances, Craven returns to confront Bohan, this time with none of his earlier patience. Facing a father who's lost everything and has nothing left to lose, Bohan's resolve finally crumbles, and with trembling voice, he reveals the deadly truth. He and Emma had both been interning at a research company called Westing, ostensibly a cutting-edge green energy firm, but Emma had accidentally discovered the company was secretly engaged in illegal activity, using their positions to covertly manufacture dirty bomb materials for certain foreign interests. Unable to stand by silently, Emma had tried to expose everything, writing to senators and seeking legal counsel, but every effort went nowhere. everywhere, met with total silence. Desperate, she'd reached out to a radical environmental group called Nightflower, hoping to expose the truth with their help. Emma led them into Westing's core cooling tunnel to gather photographic evidence. But their infiltration was quickly discovered by the company's ruthless CEO, John Bennett, who remotely released highly radioactive steam into the tunnel, killing every Nightflower member who'd entered, later disguising their deaths as accidental drownings. Craven presses further. If Emma never actually entered the tunnel herself, why would her hair show radiation exposure? Bohan explains it was the company's doing. To silence her permanently, they'd subjected her to covert chronic radiation poisoning through an untraceable method. As the full picture comes into focus, Craven returns the gun to Bohan, understanding that by revealing all this, Bohan has effectively signed his own death warrant. Back in his car, weighed down with dread, Craven opens the package Bohan had given him with trembling hands. 2 discs inside. Loading one into his computer, Emma's face suddenly appears on screen. In the video, she calmly and resolutely details Westing's crimes, acknowledging she's in grave danger. Her phone tapped, her movements tracked. At the video's end, she looks directly into the camera, as if speaking across the boundary between life and death, delivering a final farewell to her father.
So, chances are that if you're watching this, I'll already be dead. I love you, Dad.
Watching his daughter, both achingly familiar and painfully unfamiliar, Craven feels his heart shatter. He'd always seen her as the child needing his protection, never imagining she'd walked alone into such darkness. Consumed entirely by rage, Craven tracks down Robinson, the Nightflower leader who'd betrayed Emma's location.
Could you remove your glasses, please, sir?
After a merciless beating, Robinson finally confesses. Bennett had been slowly poisoning Emma through her everyday food and drink. Racing back to her apartment, Craven sweeps the radiation detector frantically through every corner, until it screams to life the moment it passes a half-finished bottle of milk in the fridge. Everything clicks into place at once. This was how his daughter had been quietly, methodically pushed toward death without ever realizing it. Then a far more devastating thought crashes over him. In tracing her final days, he too had drunk from that same bottle, meaning he's already been contaminated himself, his own time now running short. His pursuit of the truth has placed him directly in mortal danger, the entire confrontation carrying an undercurrent of tragedy from the very start. Just as despair threatens to overwhelm him, an urgent knock sounds at the door. It's Craven's old partner, Bill, though he hasn't come to help. Instead, he's here to convince Craven to abandon his pursuit entirely. Reluctantly, Bill admits he's been bought off by Bennett, his own children held as leverage, leaving him with no real choice but to comply. Before he can finish speaking, the radiation poisoning in Craven's system suddenly flares violently, dizziness and nausea overwhelming him completely. And in that vulnerable moment, he fails to notice 2 assassins slipping silently into the house. Given no chance to recover, Craven wakes to find himself in an abandoned warehouse, locked tightly to a cold metal bed frame. But these killers have badly underestimated a cornered, grieving veteran detective with nothing left to lose. Staying remarkably composed, Craven breaks free of the wrist restraints with 3 swift kicks, freeing one hand. When one of the assassins comes to check on the noise, Craven, feigning unconsciousness, explodes into sudden, ruthless action, executing a decisive, brutal counterattack. In this desperate moment, his years of professional instinct merge completely with the raw agony of losing his daughter, unleashing startling strength. Having escaped, Craven's body is now on the verge of complete collapse. Radiation sickness blurring his vision, his steps growing increasingly unsteady, each movement an agonizing struggle. But he has only one remaining goal, one final destination, Bennett's mansion. Gripping his weapon, Craven confronts the true mastermind behind his daughter's murder face to face. He pins the actual shooter to the ground, forcing the man to recreate that fatal rainy night, shouting out his own name for confirmation.
Louder! Craven! Louder! Craven!
Once every detail of the truth is verified, Craven doesn't hesitate for a moment before ending the killer's life.
I'm sorry you had to see that.
Dragging his ravaged body forward, Craven advances step by step toward a trembling Bennett, slowly pulling out the bottle of lethally contaminated milk and, with the last of his strength, forces the remaining half down Bennett's throat. Bennett thrashes in absolute terror, desperately scrambling toward the kitchen in search of an antidote. But the moment he twists open the bottle cap, he turns to find Craven standing silently in the doorway, his gaze ice cold, as if he's become death itself passing final judgment. Only then does Bennett truly understand. Those who harm others ultimately destroy themselves. themselves. Every scheme he'd so carefully orchestrated has finally turned back to consume him entirely. In the story's final moments, the disc's Craven had mailed reach a reputable news outlet, ensuring Westing's crimes will finally come to light. Meanwhile, lying in a hospital bed, his own life reaches its end. In his final moments, he seems to see his daughter walking through the door, smiling as she approaches, gently touching his forehead. His revenge is complete. He can finally let everything go, following her into a place free of pain and conspiracy, bathed in light.